questions in on Slido?
No, we don't. I don't think we do. Hi. In the right order. On my far right, you have Connor, who is currently Managing Director at TECHSTARS Berlin and experienced founder, CEO, investor, startup mentor, and MD for the SAP I/O Accelerator. Next to him, Brian Dixon is COO of Capital Innovators, based in St. Louis, Missouri. You invest in startups and act as a liaison between startups and corporations, and also do corporate accelerator programs. And George, you're co-founder and head of business development at Founders Factory, based in London, where you have received investment from 6 corporate clients, including L'Oreal and EasyJet. So now you know who we are. We'd like to know a little bit who you are. Raise your hand if you are a startup. Okay. Raise your hand if you represent a corporation. Okay. Cool. So my first question to the panel is, what is unique about your model of accelerator, and why do you believe it works? What's in it for a startup? What's in it for a corporation? Connor.
Okay. So TECHSTARS is a worldwide network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. So I think what's unique to our model is that it's a mentor-driven model. So all TECHSTARS programs around the world are mentor-driven, whether with a corporate program or not with a corporate program. And we now run programs in 42 different locations, 42 different accelerator programs around the world. So at this point, we've invested in 1,400 companies. We're going to invest in almost 400 companies this year, but always in batches of 10, and increasingly with corporate partners. So it's still a dedicated TECHSTARS program in partnership with a corporate, but you have access to that whole global TECHSTARS network of 11,000 mentors, 3,000 alumni from founders at 1,400 companies. So I think we're at this stage now where we're trying to connect into the local ecosystems at the corporate level and at the founder and mentor level, and then connect those ecosystems around the world. So I think that's what we, I think, is one of the areas where we can add not just local value in that local accelerator, but connect you into global. So if you're running in TECHSTARS Bangalore and you're going to New York, you can tap into the TECHSTARS network in New York or in Kansas City or Berlin or wherever else you're going as well.
Brian.
All right, so with Capital Innovators, what's really unique about our model, I think, is how we structure our mentorship. And so we're also a mentor-driven model, but we only select 5 to 7 companies at a time. And so we really like to focus on being extremely intensive on those 5 to 7 companies, and that's why we select a smaller amount of companies. But we have a split between what we call lead mentors and subject matter experts. And so a lead mentor in our program acts as a co-CEO for that business. And these are current or former successful entrepreneurs that have built and sold venture-backed companies, taken companies public, maybe been executives at larger organizations. But when we select those 5 to 7 businesses, this co-CEO, their lead mentor, gets paired with that business based on the relevant experience they have for that particular startup. And they are actively participating with them throughout the full 12 weeks of our program. So they are advising them, and they really do have that co-CEO that has a whole understanding of the different areas and how the business works together. On the corporate side, we've also developed a really interesting model for employee liaison engagement. So we create these teams of 4 to 5 employees that we put with the startups that we invest in our corporate accelerators. And what's really unique about that is it allows the employees to think much more creative in the workplace, be more efficient, and think like a startup company. And they also draw brand new ideas and innovations that our corporate accelerator employees will then put financial and employee resources behind to test out internally for that company.
Cool. And so I guess the 3 kind of main differentiators for Founders Factory are, on the one hand, we're actually building companies from scratch as well as accelerating. So we accelerate 30 companies a year, but we also build 12 new ones every year, from the very beginning right through to getting a seed round. We actually have a slightly different model to these guys in that we don't rely on a mentor model. We have people in-house. That's partly because we need to actually build the startups, and that requires a lot of people. So we have 60 people full-time who are helping the startups, and that goes across growth, product, marketing, engineering, data science, partnerships, fundraising, etc. And then the final thing is we try and blend different verticals and different sectors together into one model. So yeah, our investors are L'Oreal, EasyJet, The Guardian, Aviva, Holdspring, a big educator. So we try and have this kind of cross-pollination of ideas in different verticals to help startups access innovation, help corporates access innovation in different areas.
Cool. Before we start into digging more into the right recipe, from your perspective, if I'm a startup, what's in it for me for joining a corporate accelerator? Why should I do that?
Well, I think the two biggest challenges an early stage startup has, particularly in enterprise or B2B SaaS, which is where I focus with SAP, our program, is often access to a network of customers and credibility. So look at today, there's so many amazing stands, so many amazing startups here today, but how do you stand out and how do you actually, when you go to a customer, there's so many startups approaching them today. Whereas I think, for example, if you are working with TECHSTARS and SAP, you could approach a corporate partner maybe through SAP, so you get the introduction, which is through their network. Or if you're interacting with them and they see just the SAP logo, that gives you massive credibility when you consider the SAP of 380,000 customers in the world. So I think for a startup, you're often looking for distribution. You have great innovation and great insights, and large corporates have great distribution, and they obviously have their own innovation as well, but they don't own all of the innovation. I think partnering with TECHSTARS and SAP, and the focus on SAP is on open innovation and how they can partner with startups and bring that to their customers. And why are they doing that? Because their customers want it. The customers want to work with these startups, but they don't know how to necessarily engage with them. They don't know how to source them, how to meet them. Whereas if they come through a filtered program through anyone on the stage here, they get curated, they get more time with the mentors inside those corporates, they get to build relationships within SAP or EasyJet or any one of your partners. And that helps them get that credibility, leverage the network of the corporate partner to go to market faster, do more faster.
Yes, I'll definitely second everything that Connor said. And in addition to that, being able to work with these employee mentors within these larger organizations so that they can actually help you cultivate your solution for that particular industry vertical is huge. So one of the biggest struggles that startups have is finding that product market fit. And when you're working with individuals who are doing this every day and they have deep domain expertise in that industry vertical, they can really help you and train you on how to build that product or service to take it to market. One example that we have is we created an energy technology focused program, and in the energy space, it often takes a 1 to 2 year pilot with an energy company before they're going to make a purchasing decision with your product. And to be able to get in with an energy company and have them pilot your product or service is going to really speed to market what you're going to be able to do with your company. And so just the access of being able to do that and the value they provide to be not only an investor and be on your cap table, which is going to look great for future investors, but also have that partner and that customer as well. It's very, very huge for startups.
George, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think all the same points around credibility and access to scale. Maybe I'd add to kind of that ability to shorten the sales cycle with these large organizations is really key. And perhaps one other thing we notice a lot with our startups is, traditionally if you're a startup and you approach a corporate, you kind of get treated like any odd vendor and you get a yes or no or basically a no reply if it's not a fit. The advantage of accelerators is that you get feedback, you can kind of shape your product, you can react to it. And actually when you're early stage and you're trying to figure things out, that's really valuable and as valuable as actually like scale and distribution when you're just starting. So I think that relationship that you get with the corporates through the accelerator is really helpful.
Now thinking of on the other side of the table, I'm a corporate, I'm thinking of doing an accelerator or in one way or the other. Where do I start? What do I have to think about? Connor, you have a very strong opinion on that.
I have a lot of strong opinions and they're often wrong, but I change them quickly though. I think it starts for me when you engage with a corporate is why are you going to do this as a corporate? And like really be honest about why you're going to do this. And then at a high level, how are you going to help the startups? Like why startups are such a fragile early stage of development that if done wrong, you can create a bad experience for your interaction with your company and the startups. It's a long-term commitment. Usually startups at a very early stage, what's average is a 7-year journey to point of kind of liquidity or maturity within that business. So why are you doing this? And are you looking to bring innovation to your customers? Are you looking to bring innovation internally? They're probably the two best places to start with. But if you can't answer why, it's because, well, all our competitors are running an accelerator, or my friend who's a CEO over there is running an accelerator, or we want to recruit innovative talent and we want to hang out with cool startups and maybe hire from them. I've heard these answers when I've asked some corporates why you want to do that. And I think it's naivety maybe, and they haven't worked with startups. And I also asked the corporates, like, in the last 5 years, have you bought any services from a startup? Have you invested in any startups? Have you invested in any VC funds or LP in any funds? And there's a whole maturity and knowledge of interacting with startup community that a corporate, maybe accelerator isn't the first place to start there. It seems like an easy answer. We've some spare office space. Let's just put up a sign and invite some teams in. Sourcing, working with the startups and aligning them with your strategy and your culture. It's a massive project internally and externally, and that's just excluding the startups. So I think there's a lot more to it, and the why is where you need to start as a corporate.
So once I figure out my reason why I want to do it, what I have to commit, what do I have to commit in terms of money, people, what kind of investment does it represent so that my corporate accelerator or my collaboration with startups as a corporate works out?
Yeah, so I think from an investment point of view, you need to have a long-term horizon. It's not just do like a one-year quick thing in a co-working space and get some innovation and feel like that's solved all your kind of digital challenges. You need to have a kind of 3 to 5 year horizon to actually let new technology bed in, let the startups grow with the organization. I think one of the key things that maybe some corporates miss is that it requires a big people investment on their side rather than necessarily just in the accelerator. They need to have the structures in place to allow the startups to work with the main company. That's both like C-level buy-in, C-level approvals. Middle management is actually the key thing. Even with C-level people saying that they want to do something, it goes to middle management. It can get stuck and they're busy, they got their day jobs and they don't want to work with the company. So actually socializing the idea of the accelerator and structuring the internal organization to work with the companies is really vital. And we actually have our partners dedicate 2 to 3 people just to working with Founders Factory so that they can bring those startups into the main organization, help them build relationships, and help them work together. So I think often, corporates miss that investment on their own side of the fence as opposed to just the accelerator.
Are there also obstacles or points of friction that a corporate can prepare for or a startup might prepare for? Are there things that both sides of the table need to know? How can corporates interact with founders in an efficient way, Brian?
So one of the things that we've experienced is that when we assemble these employee liaison teams from the larger organizations for the startups, is that they sometimes think that these startups have just a tremendous budget, when in reality they may only have $50,000 to $100,000 to spend, and with working in the larger organization, they think they have all these resources that they can dedicate and apply. And so we really have to work and train the corporate culture to learn how these startups operate extremely efficient with their time, energy, and their capital. And that's often difficult. It provides some friction sometimes. But I think that's part of the reason why engaging with an outside accelerator program is so beneficial for a corporation, is because we can really help train their employees to think more like a startup in the workplace. And because of that, they're going to be much more creative and efficient with their own time and energy. And I actually have a funny story with one of the larger organizations that we worked with. We had to build a website for the accelerator program that we were running. And it took almost 3 weeks to get approval from their IT team to build this website. And I called the person that had to do the approval, and he got upset with me on the phone, and he goes, I can't just walk into our lead of tech and ask him if we can approve this website. And I go, yes, you can. You get up out of your seat, you walk down the hallway, and you ask him. And he became very apologetic on the phone and goes, I'm sorry, I've been working in this corporate environment for so long, I forget that I can actually do these things. Like, this is a real problem with this legacy mindset of how you've been doing the same thing for years and years. And so, it provides a lot of friction. And so I think that startup engagement can really help them reframe their mindset about how they're operating.
And just add to that, equally, the startups often have unaligned expectations how a corporate works as well. If they've been very much in the startup world for a while, their definition of fast is 3 hours and 3 days, and then setting expectations on pipeline, going to market, pilots, approval cycles. It's not always the corporate as well. The startup needs to reset some of their expectations. So you mentioned both sides of the table. I'd actually say when you bring in a corporate accelerator partner, you almost have three sides of the table. You basically have the corporate, you have the startup, and you have the corporate accelerator. And I often kind of joke that we're almost like that API between both, translating both languages from startup world to corporate and corporate back to startup to help reset and manage those expectations, to take some of the friction out of it, because there's two different cultures coming together. And when it works, it's really successful and exciting and win-win for both sides and their customers. But at the start, without the corporate accelerator support, I think it can be a lot of friction, a lot of unknowns from both sides. I think that's where we can really, really help. It's three sides of the table, really, when you do it right.
I have a couple more questions for you, but there are a lot of questions coming from the audience, so I think we should start answering them. And one question that has a lot of traction and kind of follows up on what you said earlier, that corporations have to need to know why they should do an accelerator. So somebody is asking explicitly, why should corporates open an accelerator besides the investment part? What's your most sensible vision on that?
I would briefly answer, like the half-life of a public company has gone from 40 years down to 15 years. So the public company is getting shorter and shorter, the time where they're in market and at their peak. And it's because the innovation cycles are getting faster and faster and faster, and the cost of entry. They all know, like, startups are attacking their customers on every single function level, every feature level. So you can either try and compete with them or you can partner with them. And I think corporate acceleration often is you're trying to partner with them, either leverage that to make yourself innovate faster internally or to partner to bring that innovation to market. The customers want that innovation, they expect it more and more. They're going to get that innovation. Are you going to be part of it as a corporate? And that's the big fear, I think, and big question inside every boardroom in the world right now.
Yeah, I think to add to that, you know, a typical fund structure, the motivations are mainly financial, and you know, you look to make a good return, but that doesn't really change the strategic direction of the company or the culture of the company. I think the key thing with an accelerator and incubator is that you're allowing your employees to think differently about their role, to go ask their managers questions that they didn't think they were able to kind of change how they work day to day by kind of working with entrepreneurs and engaging with new technology and trying new things. So I think that accelerator aspect brings that kind of cultural transformation to corporates, whereas an investment fund, you know, may make a nice return, but it doesn't really touch the core operations of the business.
There's a question who wants to know if corporations that launch an accelerator succeed or fail. I want to make it a little bit more specific and maybe ask you all three, do you have an example of a massive failure, and what really went wrong? Can we say, like, this is really what you should not do?
So we experienced a massive failure where a company out of St. Louis, Missouri tried to set up their own innovation department and accelerator and tried to source these startup companies. And what the biggest issue we discovered is that with working in that large environment, they did not have experience dealing with the psychology of the founder and how to mentor them appropriately. And so I think that's a huge benefit of partnering with an outside accelerator, is that entrepreneurs are definitely their own breed. They think in their own way, they get things done fast, they're very efficient, they want to act now. And to have people that understand the neuroscience behind how those people operate and then being able to take that and implement that into the larger organization is very beneficial.
I can maybe add one where we invested in a business which was using satellite data to predict kind of crop failure and analyze damage from thunderstorms and things like that. And we and our partners got really excited about the opportunity, and said, you know, all the senior people said, great, let's do this. So we brought the company into the accelerator, but for the business to actually work, they needed to access the most proprietary data set that sat within the corporate. And we spent 6 months trying to get access to that data set, and no one felt comfortable providing that to the startup. And the startup still raised money and did okay, but it had a really damaged relationship with the partner because they joined to get access to that data set, and it was just too many protocols, too much sensitivity to provide it, and so it was like a really disappointing outcome. And I think that data sharing aspect, I think you guys do it really well around offering up APIs and access to data for the company. It's really a challenging thing, and you have to do a lot of work up front to enable that exchange to work.
And as intermediaries, as acting as liaison between corporates and startups, do you have any advice for people who are like in-betweens?
More people like us, you mean?
How do you develop partnership between corporates and startups if you want to facilitate them?
Well, I think the key is it's the partnership from the corporate. I think we touched on this. For example, my partner, who I work with day to day, is a senior, is a global vice president at SAP, 18 years experience, knows everyone across the organization, hugely respected, and that's a massive commitment at someone at a senior level to work with the corporate accelerator. And on the back of that, that helps us with interfacing to all areas of the business. So I think it's a really important role from someone senior in the business to come in and commit and to join and work day to day with you. So I think that if you, looking across all TECHSTARS and talking to other MDs and doing corporate programs, the partnership, and it really is that partnership on a day-to-day basis, is so important to the success of that partnership, the accelerator and the corporate, which ultimately impacts the success of the startup. So I think getting your team right from not internally in your accelerator, but actually in the corporate commitment is hugely important.
I think maybe one thing to add to that is like empathy is really key. You've got the startups on one side, like running out of cash, like needing to hire, needing to get business, like desperate to get that introduction and kind of get a pilot moving or whatever it might be. Then on the other side, you've got a corporate who someone's got their day job, they've got their budgets, they've got people that are reporting to them, they're crazy busy with the core of what they're doing. And you're expecting them to drop all of that and focus on the startup. And it doesn't always work like that, and you have to be really considerate of people's motivations and help people look good and help people kind of celebrate successes rather than just pushing people really, really hard to do something which maybe isn't part of their core. So you have to be really empathetic to kind of see both sides of that story a lot of the time.
One of the things that we've experienced is that you have to mentor the employees within the corporation just as much as you have to mentor the companies. And largely it's because there's that huge disconnect between how they think in different areas. And so we've really, really had to provide some intensive mentoring on the corporate side to let them understand and be more educated in the capital requirements that the company has, how they should be thinking about their business, how quick to market they need to be, and things of that nature.
So you mentor on both sides. You mentor inside the corporations also.
Absolutely. So when we kick off every program, we have extremely intensive mentoring sessions to help the employees of the larger organizations understand a plethora of different things about how to work with a startup company, how they think internally, the actual nature of the accelerator itself. Sometimes we'll partner with organizations and they don't even know what an accelerator is. They just know, oh, it's this new innovation-based thing we're trying to do to source new technologies, and they don't understand the other benefits that come with it as far as improving culture, economic development, and all these other things. And so we do a lot of mentoring on the corporate side as well.
Okay, excellent, thank you. We are running out of time, but I believe some people might have follow-up questions in the audience. What's the best way to reach out to each one of you in one word?
I'll be here afterwards.
LinkedIn and, yeah, standing there.
Same. CapitalInnovators.com is our website. You can reach out to me there as well.
Thank you.